Zen Master Ma Zhou said, mind is Buddha. Later on, Zen Master Ma Zhou said, no mind, no Buddha. So, first he said mind is Buddha, then he said no mind, no Buddha. If there's no mind and no Buddha, what are we doing here? Ha! 120 Dharma brothers and sisters celebrate the birth of a great man. So, we got a little story earlier today about the birth of the Buddha. But we stopped after his miraculous birth. The story goes on in that about a week afterward, I believe, his mother died. Think about that. A month after his birth, his mother died. A week after his birth. So this deep suffering and deep sadness of the world was really seared into the Buddha's bones. He wasn't called the Buddha then. But then something interesting happened. He got swept up into the world of privilege and into the world of wealth. And he lived a life in heaven. Every whim, every desire, anything he needed was given to him. And, you know, we're really talking legend here. None of us really know who this man was. And it's important to remember that this is legend. We were told the date of his birth was pushed back 100 or 200 years. So nobody even really knows when or where. But just a few pieces of information create a story. And that story gets seared in our mind, so we think we know the Buddha. But we don't know the Buddha. We know a story. We know an idea. So in this story, in his 20s, suddenly this inkling of suffering came back. And suddenly with the seeing of poverty, old age, sickness, and death, he developed a great question. What is this? Suddenly all the wealth and the fame and the whims that were satisfied by his privilege didn't mean anything to him anymore. So we developed a great question. And all of us know that this great question is the beginning point of practice. Not only the beginning point of practice, but the end of practice. And the middle of practice. What is this? And if we can grab a hold, like this man who we call the Buddha did, grab hold of this great question, then we get a little confused. We get a little lost, but not in a bad way. Our foundation gets shaken, and we determine to look, to wonder. So the Buddha, for 6 years, practiced non-stop, what am I? And the legend goes, one night, seeing the Eastern Star, or one early morning, he had this thing we call enlightenment. Another legend, another story. But you hear this word enlightenment, and this whole dream follows. And usually in this dream, this enlightenment is something out there. Something that if I get it, then I'll be something. Without it, I'm just this suffering, for many of us, worthless piece of shit. But what is enlightenment? What did the Buddha get? We don't know. We don't know what he got. But we know our own life. We think we're born and we die. But that's our body. What is it that never is born and never dies? So Majo said, mind is Buddha. He wasn't talking about our thinking, feeling mind. This before thinking, already complete. This entirety is one thing. But there was a problem. People got attached to his ideas. People started going around saying, mind is Buddha, mind is Buddha. Now I understand. Once we think we understand, we lose it. And that's what we do. We get a seed of something, and then our ideas, our opinions, our conditions all form around it. And then we believe the story is the thing. But the story is the fantasy. The thing is before thinking. So the story goes, I think it was about 10 years later, a monk came to Majo and he said, what is Buddha? To the student. And the student said, easy, Buddha is mind. So he could see, already everybody's attached to something. So he said, no mind, no Buddha. Then the great question appeared again. The point is, what do we do with it? If the Buddha is really being born every moment, we were already told, happy birthday. We said, hello, happy birthday to everybody. That means every moment the Buddha is born. Our job is, what do we do with it? How do we take care of it? Many years ago, we had a wedding at Empty Gate Zen Center, and Zen Master Soeng was officiating at the wedding. So, at the wedding ends, the bride and groom runs out, and everybody throws rice around. Once everything stops, Zen Master Soeng said, sweep up the rice. He grew up in hunger. He grew up knowing what it's like not to have food. See, wealth, privilege, it blinds us to what's really going on. So we have to keep our eyes open. We have to keep our hearts open. We have to know what we're doing. How do we treat the Buddha right now? Right now, we create our world. What kind of world will we create? That's our job as Buddhas living in this world. That's what we do. And our practice is helping us to stay awake, to stay alive, to know, what am I doing right now? It's so easy to fall into fantasy. It's so easy to fall into some dream of, oh, I can do this, it's okay. So our practice is moment to moment to moment. Wake up. Buddha means awake. So if we're Buddha, then wake up. That's our job. That's what we do. But not for my good feeling, not so I get enlightenment so everybody will think I'm a really great person. That kind of enlightenment you can throw in the garbage. It's worth nothing. Moment to moment to moment, how do we live our life? What do we do? That's how we show our enlightenment in this very moment. So we never stop practicing. We never give up. We keep going. We're always failing. It's already broken. This world is already broken. Our job is to bring love and peace and healing to this broken world. Not to think that we're going to make it whole again. You can't put it back. We just have to deal with what is.